Michelle Graves, your host on The Power of Money, and I'm honored to have you as a part of my world in this coming segment. With The Power of Money, as you know, we are interested in three things. First, that you get the necessary education so that you and your family will have the information to do well in these difficult times. The second thing I'm interested in is for you to be empowered to prosper. I want only the best for you, but you can't get that if you don't have the education and then the drive to make it happen. And the final thing, and perhaps the most important thing, is that you be energized. Because life is more than a journey. Life is about living. And so I want you to learn these things and to be empowered. And welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm your host, Michelle Graves. Been doing this show for, my goodness, well over 2 decades now. And I appreciate the followership. I appreciate the emails. I appreciate the communication, because truly we have transitioned into a time in history that the world has never seen before. And therefore, to stay current, I have to be on point at all times. I'm looking for opportunities and situations, which is exactly why I am bringing you my amazing guest today. Her name is Tandy Pryor. She is a life coach. But before we say, well, what does that mean? She'll tell you what it means. But more importantly, you need to know that she is one of our movers and shakers nationally. And what she has to say has tremendous power and resonates with me. I'm a leader. I don't have to apologize for what I am, but it's very nice that you all will be able to hear her views and opinions and perspectives about women, about leadership, how we're going to transition through this period. Look, folks, it's not going to get better, not for a long time. And we've got to know how to navigate and maneuver to success in the middle of all of this. I am actually excited, and I say I'm excited because the data I'm reading, despite what you may think about artificial intelligence, it's not all bad. It's just sometimes bad people do things, and they always have. So again, I'm excited about the things ahead, and I wanted to bring her on because I'd like to talk to her about some things that she's dealing with and her views. So without further ado, she's coming in by way of Zoom today. She is down in my home state of Kentucky, and she's just one of those amazing people coming up out of Kentucky. So again, thank you for being a part of my world as I interview Tandy Pryor, who has more than a decade of experience transforming lives of not only her clients, but people. Let's just go to the Zoom now. How are you today, Tandy?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited to be here with you.
I am so excited that you were consenting, because I know your calendar is incredibly busy. But I appreciate you giving me that time. Why don't you tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about who Tandy Pryor is?
Ooh, so where do I start, right?
Wherever.
I've been coaching. So you say I'm a life coach, and that's true, but I am actually what I describe myself as a coach for women in business, women entrepreneurs. So I'm an empowerment coach.
Okay.
I've had a few guys slip in there too. But I started this business at 50 years old.
My goodness.
And yeah. So I'm almost, it'll be 12 years in January. So
you look wonderful.
Oh, well, thank you. I
look
appreciate
absolutely television ready. You look great.
Woo! I'll take that. Yes.
Yes.
You know, a little bit about me is I feel like when I start to talk about this, I spent my whole life, I think, working up to this. I was adopted at birth into an amazing family. But that started my curiosity because In the 60s, it was closed adoptions. You had no information. So that drive to find the answers for myself makes me so good at helping to find the answers for others in their life and in their business. And it's, it was an interesting life, a beautiful life, but one filled with secrets. And where
Ah,
there's secrets, there's shame. So I had a lot of work to do on myself. I was a very rebellious teenager and early 20s and very lost. And I was lucky enough to find and meet my birth parents, and it began to close in a lot of the unknowing and the pain. And I say all this because it was part of the driver that makes me good at what I do.
well, I tell you, I think that as you share with me about your journey as an adopted child and the rebellion and all of that, I absolutely hold firm to everything that happened to you was preparation for the times that we are in today.
Ooh, I
Oh my
just got
gosh.
chills.
I mean, it just is. You
Yes.
were prepared, boots on the ground, for such a time as this, because never have we needed people who have more than just a conversation, but they have the wisdom and the knowledge and the understanding to guide women into leadership. What are your thoughts on that?
100%
Yes.
true. It's, I don't do what I do because everything was perfect and it was ugly and it was not pretty. And after what I'm talking about, I ended up marrying somebody who was not a good fit because I wasn't in my power and I made choices from not being empowered. And then I had a near death experience in my 30s. So that
Jeez.
was the big shove. That was the big wake up call. And that trajectory took from 33 and diving into spirituality, personal development. I worked as a hands on healer for years. I was an energy worker, licensed massage therapist in the state of Ohio. I did a lot of that work.
That's
And
powerful.
and I knew that it was part of my journey to where I am now. I knew that I knew the whole time I was doing that it serves me well. Every part of this, every step of it brought it together for me to bring this wisdom, bring this life experience. I went through a divorce with 3 kids and went through the financial difficulties that comes with that. It's kind of like whatever I coach, I had to live.
I think
And
I think that's
yeah,
in part. I think that is very important because today's world requires more than you regurgitating an old paradigm, an old model. It doesn't work. It didn't work then, but we were good at fakery. Guilt, shame,
yes,
hide, lie, lie. Oh my
yes,
gosh, the lies about people's lives because everybody was so ashamed about their background and their past.
yes,
Women especially because we didn't have the support systems that were so necessary to ensure a steady walk. What are your thoughts on that?
Ooh, it's what everything you're speaking truth. Everything you're saying is true, and it's moving. It's embracing what life puts in front of you to deal with and transforming it. And every single person that is born has their own unique gifts to give.
Yes, they do.
And it doesn't always mean that you have to earn your money. Like some people get all, worked up because, well, how can I earn money with that? Because I have this job. All I know is that the times we're in are calling for everybody to be exactly who you are right now. Right now. You don't need one more degree. You don't need one more certification.
Ah,
You already
yes.
have what you need. And there are times if you really want to do this as a position, you might need to get those things. But every single person, nobody's the same. Everybody has different experiences. They have different perspectives. And gosh, could we get on that? How we can't even have different perspectives? I had to think like, okay, I hope I don't push buttons because, I usually speak pretty straight
I love that.
about
I
that,
love
right?
that. I love that.
But you can trigger people these days because everybody, here's how I see it. It used to be like you could have an opinion, people would listen and go on, and maybe you didn't change them, maybe you did. But now everybody it's as low vibration, not everybody, but a
Low
vast
vibration.
majority.
Yeah.
It's
Low.
hooking people. It's
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
putting your hooks in them. When you're in an argument, they hook you because they need you to believe the way they do. Instead of just hearing someone and going, huh, I mean, I'm pretty middle of the road. I'm not going to line up with anything right now. I don't
Right.
believe
That's how I
everything.
am.
A confused brain says no. And if there's anything going on right now in the media that's owned by, bother looking at what it's owned by in so many ways, you you have to be able to just do your thing around that.
Well, I tell you, and I've been involved with empowerment issues for well over 30 years, especially with women and other people that had been disregarded and disdained. Because
Yes.
disregard is one thing, but disdain is something else entirely, because it does impact on your ability to see life in a positive way. And so we are facing so many situations, and I totally agree with you, Tandy, that I don't know why people feel it's necessary for you to be in agreement with them for them to be okay. I tell folks,
Yes.
be intentional. Do
Yes.
you. Don't worry about me, because I got my
Yes.
own stuff. But
Yes.
be most focused on you and what you need to do. Let's talk about that. Give me your thoughts.
On you doing you, is
Yeah.
that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying about I hope that we can get back to a place of civility.
Oh,
There's just no being able to have your opinion without making sure somebody else also agrees with you. I mean, these splits among families, splits among lifetime friends,
yes.
because there's so many things being thrown at us. Nobody really knows the truth about a lot of things. It's just we're being, in my opinion, we're just being played on so many different opinions, so many different arguments that split, and some of them are very valid, but what's being tossed to us by so many different directions, you can't even know if you're coming or going unless you are solid in who you are and what you know and what you believe in, and also open. I learn every day. I make sure
Yes.
to surround myself with people
Yes.
who are, I was with two people last night. We don't see the world the same. I love that because guess what? We are fine together. But I also have been around people where that's not okay if you don't see the world the same. They're not okay with it.
Well, if I might say something, because yesterday I was the keynote speaker for a very large organization that is predominantly ultra conservative, male driven, white male driven. And I talked about aging with no regrets. And I did it. Now, this is going to flip you for real. I did it to honor Barbara Bush as an incredible woman who at
Yeah.
92 transitioned. And they
Yes.
were stunned. They never thought I would have a picture. Here's a black woman. I'm not a young woman, but here I am in front of them and with my hair in braids and very tastefully dressed. But it was just like, I'm going to put this in front of you and see what you do. And I'm going to tell you, that was incredible. It was incredible. I watched what happened because their triggers were going. But they had to deal with it because that's where we are. And I was very clear. I said, you all don't have to like Barbara Bush. Well, what decent Republican's not going to like Barbara Bush? You know? And I said, you don't have, but I'm trying to show you that images and realities and filters are impactful on everybody. So
Yes.
it was amazing. They came up to me. So many of them were like, oh, Miss Graves, we did not know until you just put it in front of our face. And we understand now. We do. It's going to be hard, but we got to do this. And I said, yes, you do have to do it. I said, because the world is shifting so fast that what was relevant today may not be relevant tomorrow. What are your thoughts on that?
I love that. You
Yeah.
bridged. You
Yes,
bridged.
I did.
Yeah.
Barbara
And
Bush.
when I get chills, like rolling chills like that, it's a confirmation that like what you did was so powerful and so confirming. And that was good to put out in the world.
Had to.
To build that bridge.
Had to.
I'm
We
sure
have to.
You're incredibly beautiful. You're completely in your power. You're authentic, and you stood up in front of them
I did.
and still built a bridge.
Because that's where we are.
Yeah.
We are uniquely human. Not perfect, but we all have our stories. We all have a story. And if we can begin to move beyond the immaturity that is associated with people who have not grown up and faced the reality of life itself, like I said at the event, the power of forgiveness, the power of you saying to another person, I forgive you, or releasing it into the atmosphere, because so many of us had messed up families, still do, so many, children. I said, how long are you going to carry the millstone around your neck? How long?
You can throw that off any day you decide to get up and throw it off. I'm a walking, talking example of that.
Jeez, tell me more.
So many women they want to start their own business. They want to, maybe they want to stay with the work they're doing, but they want to do work that matters. They want it to matter. And as soon as they start to do it, it's the who do I think I am? And I'd be lying if I did a big keynote last week in front of 160 people in my small town.
Oh.
Where I acted a fool for years.
Oh my God! Did you do it in Kentucky? Is that where you did it?
Yeah,
girl.
Yes, in small town Kentucky.
Oh, girl, you are courageous.
That was huge.
You are
it
courageous.
Was so huge.
Oh my God! The guns, the oh my God! Oh, girl, please. I am scared of you.
It was like, and I'm so glad that you get it, because not everybody gets it.
I get it.
Public speaking is not easy for me to start with, and then to come back to my small town that I moved away from 36 years ago. So I've been back a year and a half, and my mother turns 96 on Sunday. So I'm here to help her have a great life while she continues to age. And so it's been really amazing, and I've had a great time being here, but standing up in front of that,
I have to
yes,
laugh.
yeah,
I have to laugh because I am from a dinky hick town, still is. Nothing's changed other than I'm gone.
yeah,
And they just will tell you, Michelle has always been that scrappy little kid who didn't care. And now she's old and she's still scrappy. But I applaud your courage because it takes courage to go
it
back.
took a lot of courage.
I mean, because you know, they're looking at you like, oh, we really do know. You're like, what do you know? Well,
And I
we were.
didn't know who was out there either before I got there. So,
Oh.
it was fine. It was
Just-
really fun.
I am so happy you had that experience. May I ask what you talked about as your topic?
Yes, I talked about the power of intention.
Oh, intentionality. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I talked about how important your mornings are. How important, like, most people don't look at how impactful the rest of the day is by how you start your morning.
Yes.
And a big part of it was, and I got this while I was making the talk. I reached over and I picked my phone up. I wasn't in bed, but I was thinking about it. And I was like, when you pick that phone up, I was thinking about ancestors 100 years ago. And
Yes.
when we pick that phone up, we're actually inviting the energy of whoever's on that when you pick it up. So if
Whew.
you start your morning and you pick your phone up by your bed, that is like, because your mother-in-law's on there asking if you remembered to make the potato salad for
Thank
the
you.
picnic last night. You totally forgot. And then your sister had a 911 call about a breakup. Please call, please call. So she's been texting you all night. And then CNN and MSNBC and Fox or whoever you listen to has push notifications. So your feet
Yes.
haven't even touched the ground. And you're already, I was like, just move over in your bed and let your mother-in-law sit right beside you because you've invited her in before your feet hit the ground.
This
No,
is
that's-
so relevant because
Yeah.
I am now embracing that early morning time of quiet, drinking ginger and turmeric tea, and thinking about all the positive, creative things that reside in me. How can I bring about positivity and change in a positive way to the people that I am in contact with? Because I don't believe in arbitrary anything. I do believe in intentionality. And if you wander through life, that's intentional too, and you will get nowhere. But if we can harness our wisdom, and incidentally, as you know, wisdom is the feminine, is females. If we can harness in an intentional and positive way our stories, our expertise, our experience, and our understanding, oh my gosh, nothing's going to stop us. I
You're
want you to
exactly
talk
right.
about the imposter syndrome. Did you deal with that when you spoke to those people?
Oh, yes. I got sidetracked. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
But that's what happens is people begin to move through to the next thing that they want to do. And the who do I think I am starts to show up. I coach a lot of women in the financial industry.
Ah.
And they're in a male-dominated business.
Yes.
And, they found me when I started my business almost 12 years ago. They found me one by one by one. Now, I coached lots of different types of businesses, artists to landscape architects and accountants and other coaches. But the majority of, if I had to have one heading, it's financial planners and advisors. And
Okay.
so many of them, when they go to work with higher net worth people, or they want to start up leveling their business and who they work with, that starts up. Maybe they grew up poor, or maybe they had depression era parents that, constantly money doesn't grow on trees. Don't get too
Right.
strung out. Those kinds. So they're dealing with the inner game of talk and, the who do I think I am to go in here and talk to these people that I can manage their $5 million account. So that's what we worked on.
Well, I tell you, I'm in that industry, and there's a
Yes.
lot of firsts on my end. I was buying banks in my 20s and billion-dollar portfolio, billions. And I was a little black girl from Kentucky who was just super smart on money and on real life. And, I'll tell you that if I had looked at myself in the mirror, I probably wouldn't be in financial anything, because it's a brutal business. Money never sleeps. And money has an attitude. And people said, an attitude? I said, mess it up and see if it'll come back. Mess it up and see if it'll come back. Money will show you that you treat it well, or I'm out. I'm telling you, it's like a well-kept woman. I tell men all the time, oh, you don't know what money mistreated looks like? Okay, keep messing up. And it will show you, because it's going to find somebody that'll treat it just wonderfully. But I think you're being able to work with women in a tough business. I mean, I do insurance and invest, all that stuff every day, and I deal with attitudes that have nothing to do with me, but most of that I think is a result of trauma in their earlier lives. They never got it worked out, and they just are out here doing all kinds of madness because they have a piece of paper that allows them some privileges. What's your experience been?
With
With regard
clients
to
or-
counseling women that are in this industry?
I think that a lot of them are just amazing and whip smart.
Yep.
And they have to push and grind, and they hit a point, and that's when they find me, when they know they cannot keep doing it the way they're doing it. They're going to, most of them come and they're very tired. Some of them are making the kind of money they want. Some of them are not, because they don't know how to say no. And so they're doing things that are not productive to their own business. And they don't know how, they want to be liked, they want to be accepted. So they, no matter what it is, they keep saying, oh yeah, I'll do that. Okay, I'll do that. And yeah, so
Sounds like me.
It's really important to have good boundaries and to work on your inner game.
That is what you said. What are some of the things that you think emerging women, young women versus those of us who are not as young, what are they having to learn? Because we really thought we were paving the way.
Yes, and we did, and we are. And when I first started 12 years ago, I would say my average age was closer to, I had a few younger ones, but around 40, late 40s to 50s to even 60. And I'm so excited because what's happening now is these women are finding me younger, and they're not having to be in so much pain. I think of what I do as pain relief.
Yes, you
because
do.
they're doing the same things, and they just need a new perspective. They need some new ways to say no. And it sounds ridiculously simple to say no, but
No,
when
it
you have
isn't.
bosses and a structure that is constantly putting more on you, and they're not saying no, and they've got homes, and they have in-laws, and they have children and husbands, and the old saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. If you're saying yes all the way from home to work, they're having to learn, and thank goodness they're finding it out sooner is what I am seeing. And I love that. So if anything's speeding up, hopefully they're getting the balance that they need, the ability to go, you know what, taking on that project doesn't work. The understanding that drive till you drop,
Right.
it will get you to the table, but they're still not going to listen to you or respect you if you're showing up with that energy. And I call it, you get results not by what you're saying or doing, but who you're being. So
Woo.
it's a shift in the energy from having to prove, and I don't blame them because they did have to prove.
Yep.
There's a lot of energy around needing to prove to get there, to get where they are. And then they realize that's not going to keep them at the table. They have to shift back into truly owning their unique voice, truly owning what they have to offer, and letting go of that drive to the point of exhaustion. And really, what's underneath that is probably perfection,
I think so.
trying to get approval,
Yes.
things that they learned as kids. So we have to kind of unwind that. Now, I'm not a therapist, but the
Nope.
way that I coach, I work a lot on the soft skills in the inner game, and I'm trained. I've just had tons of training in that over the last 20 years.
I'm sure. But I
Yes.
totally agree with you with regard to the whole expectation model that will ultimately conflict. It's going to be a blow up. I can tell you personally, I was always getting drafted into stuff I didn't want to do. Authentically, I didn't want to do it. And I did it because, women, we're nice. And in retrospect, I was like, why didn't I just tell them no? And the reason was, again, false expectations. The expectation is that if they saw that I appeared to be a nice person, that they might engage my services or they might engage. But the reality is that conflicts directly with the business model. And you know that. What are your thoughts?
What you're saying is exactly correct. And I've coached a couple of men also, and one of them was just brilliant and amazing. And I won't name the company.
Yep.
But the whole structure of it had him coaching all of the people in the office and not getting paid for that. And so all that time he wasn't working on his book of business and he wasn't being compensated, but he was getting the need filled to be liked, be accepted, be useful. And that all started, and that's a common thing that I see.
Well, I would think so because as children, and I'm not a therapist either, but I am a wise woman. And I tell people children are so precious because they can be absolutely trained to look at life and people and families in a very defined way, typically starting with their immediate family and their parents or their parent. And they drag that unknowingly in the subconscious right into the business world. And with disastrous outcomes, because if you're the in-house therapist and you're not getting paid, how are you going to be performance driven if that's the model called capitalism? You must be productive, you must perform, and you got to get results, or else you're going to be furloughed, laid off, terminated. And it sounds counterintuitive, but I'm back to what I told. Be who you are. Be your authentic self. Please be that so that you don't wind up blowing yourself up, and maybe others who are looking to you as a source of guidance and inspiration. I'll tell you right now, Tandy, I'm at the crossroads. I'm 71. I do big events off and on because I got joy out of them, but they were exhaustive. They cost me money. And for the first time, I'm at a crossroads, which is, I don't think so. And you better find somebody else to do it. And what I find interesting is the response of people when you say no. What are your thoughts?
Oh, when you say no. Yeah, I mean, this is some of the biggest coaching I do. There are, my favorite saying is no is a complete sentence.
Yes,
No.
it is. No.
And Dale Carnegie has a thing about how to say no where you soften it. Anybody can look that up if they want to, but it's kind of like, no, that doesn't work for me. Have you tried? Somebody else, like sometimes people have to have a lot of guidance.
I think you're right.
And a different perspectives. Sometimes they can't even see that it's a boundary issue to constantly say yes. It's a boundary. It's boundaryless. And it just causes, if you're yesing all over the place, to everyone else, you're saying no to what your own desires are. And that's one of the most impactful, powerful things that my clients and women in business can do. Is to start looking where they're yesing all over the place.
Yeah.
And yes.
And what is the ultimate gain? And please, I don't need another plaque. You know that. I don't need another anything. I need to be enmeshed in transference of information, transference of techniques, of compassion to listen, because if not, we're going to have a generation of women that are going to be totally ticked off because they're not achieving the level of inner healing and satisfaction that is so much a part of the life journey. I tell them, you got to get healed. I don't know what it's going to take, but you need to get healed because you are just doing too much, okay? Trying to make your husband happy, trying to make your kids happy, trying to make like, where are you in this scheme of things? What are your thoughts?
I love that you brought that up. And my first thing was like, yeah, but they have so much access, these young women, to information like we never had.
Right.
You can get on Instagram and get a full therapy session practically.
Yes.
Or a coaching session. And yet, these are still the age of people that are coming to me for coaching because they need a different perspective. They can get all of that, but without understanding what's causing them the pain that they're in, it becomes almost overwhelming. And yes, some of it's really good information that they can access online and have access to. It still doesn't bypass doing the deep inner work. That's what I'm getting to.
I totally get it, because internet is not touch feel.
No.
Humans have to be touched, and humans have to feel. And we have so many people. That's why I said yesterday, I'm at a place where you must intentionally forgive ratty people. You gotta let it go. And if it's you, then you better forgive yourself and get some help, okay? Because based on the research I'm doing now, do you not know, Tandy, that we are expected to live an additional 30 years?
Starting when?
Well, it's in motion now, thanks to artificial intelligence, science and technology. They're pushing the button. If you are healthy, you are expected. Demographic analysis has said you got 30 more years. All the people thinking they're going to be dead at 70, wrong. You'll be dead after 100. But can you imagine carrying that over 100? Where I can't stand my sister. It doesn't matter. She's been dead 20 years, you know?
Yeah.
And yet this is where we are. And it's really, really serious. So I wanted to ask you, What are some of the things that people need to do right now to shift their thinking so that they can prosper in the days ahead?
Ooh.
I know.
I think number one is that I see a lot of people with smiles on their faces
Yeah.
out and around, and they're not happy.
No.
And they tell themselves that they are, and they stay in a loop. When I talk to people that I know that are in pain, I'm willing to have conversations that they wouldn't normally have, right? Or about what's really going on. And they will turn, if they're ready to make a change, they'll turn towards it. And if they're not, they'll go back and they'll get on that loop of continuing to just stay in pain. So one is to be real with, if you want to continue tolerating what doesn't work, then make the choice that I'm just going to accept this job, marriage, whatever that isn't working, and make peace with it, or do something to change it. That's one. Two, one of the biggest things I do is I work with people's physical environments. I'm quite trained in that, almost 20 years of
Okay.
instinctive feng shui, but it's my intuition, and I can tell where people are blocked by looking at their physical spaces. This is a different thing that we really haven't gone into, but it is modern day alchemy. Declutter, get rid of that stuff, and be intentional about your physical environment in your office. It can change your life the day that you do it. It's one of the fastest way to get new results.
Is now well, how do you do that? Because I have an office, and after 25 years of stuff, I'm just like, I just need to sell everything, and
It weighs heavy on people when they're in a space that doesn't lift them up and doesn't support where they're going. You can't out coach, out market, out intention an environment that's not supporting you. So clean, clear, decluttered, fill it with only intentional things, go around and test it, like an item on the floor, an item on a desk, an item, and make sure that it's part of where you want to go. Does it still have a vibe that you like? Now, there's Marie Kondo all over. We were doing this long before Marie Kondo on TV. I don't know if you've seen her.
Yes,
What sparks
I have.
joy? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Be very intentional. Like if you have something from an ex-husband that's in your house, you know, I had a client that wanted to date, but in the relationship corner there was a quilt made out of her ex-husband's shirts. Hello.
Hello. Hello. You
No
know,
wonder.
it's funny you bring that up because I have been divorced, very brief marriage, for over 9 years. And my very beloved friend said, that ring's gotta go. And I was like, oh, it's under plastic, it's not hurting. But you know what? We got rid of that ring.
Yeah.
We got rid of the ring on Saturday, this past Saturday. The ring is gone. Took it
Is
to
there
her.
something else too, though? I think there's something else.
Whew. What
I
do
don't
you
know.
think?
Check and see. I don't know. I would check and see. I feel like there's something else of his around, but you have to you have to look. So you want to clear and declutter your office, and you want a power position. So you want to make sure you don't have your back to the door. That you're like, well, usually you have to have a solid wall behind you.
Okay.
And you're pulled off of the wall facing your opportunities, facing your doors. So when you have your back to the door, it's like going, I don't want anymore. It's like shutting off. I've had people, it's like this. Opportunities are here ready for you, and you're over here. When you align your physical environment, it's like creating a straight road to where you want to go.
That is amazing. So
yeah.
you're saying that you want to make sure physically that your back is not in the opposite direction of the door. You want to be in alignment. Is that correct?
Right. Yes.
Wow, that's good stuff.
Well, you don't want to be lined up with the door. You want to be off to the side. But when somebody walks in that door, I'm in the command position to be able to see them.
Yes.
So I can see them come in, and it's very important. And it may sound out there, but I literally had a client who had a wedding business in California, and her desk was just not in alignment with she was lined up with the door. It just didn't work.
Oh,
And she
wow.
resisted switching it, but the week that she switched it and we power positioned her in the office, she literally brought in 30K. That happens all the time.
All the time.
Different varieties of money. Not everybody's making 30K. It depends on what you do. There's lots of other things. Sometimes there has to be mindset coaching, but it's putting yourself in the position to receive so powerfully. So that is 2 on my thing. And then I have a 3rd, which is get an outside perspective.
Okay.
You asked me for the things that they can do. So
Right.
The 3rd is get an outside perspective. I love that I get to play in what you don't know that you don't know.
Oh my God. The DMZ zone.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So those are, in answer to those questions, that's what dropped in.
Well, I tell you, I'm fine in terms of my office. Before Feng Shui, I was always very sensitive to those things culturally, and having lived in Asia and other parts of the world, how people dealt with life and change, and how static and unmovable you can become in this country.
Ooh.
Oh,
yes.
oh my gosh. I'm like, are you serious? You
Yes.
can't even see it? No, they can't. And this is why I think, particularly given what's happening demographically in this country, the aging of our country, women ascending and into leadership, but I don't want crippled women in leadership.
Right.
I want fully actualized, happy, joyous, focused, intentional women moving into decision making and collaborative, cooperative business principles. I think that we bring such power in those dialogues, and it doesn't have to be envy or anything like that. It's like, I love you. And I told you, I said, whether you acknowledge it or not, you are a great woman. I don't tell very many people they're great, but you truly—
I received that. Thank you.
But you are a great woman. Our time is wrapping up. We got 5 minutes. I need you to talk about what's important to you right now, and as we go into this period of national transition, not only climate change. I mean, 100 degrees in Florida in the water, we won't have to fry fish. We just go and get one, because they're already cooked. But on a more serious note, what would you like your parting comments to be today?
Ooh.
I know.
Well, you were saying that even when we talk about the state of the world, it's so important. I guess it goes back to my keynote, to be intentional. Intentional what you listen to, intentional what you speak, intentional about who you surround yourself with, and do your work to be the most empowered version of yourself that you can possibly be. We need boots on the ground, so to speak.
Yep.
I don't know what's coming.
Oh.
I'm in all different kinds of groups, and you talk to the different ones, and they all have different things about the times that we're in and what's
Right.
coming. I choose to think that, and watch over the last 20 years, since 08 probably, I think it's been a sloughing off of what doesn't work, what's hidden, what's not real, what is been in the shadows has been being pulled out. Politicians, banking industries, humans,
Yes.
all of that. So stay with being clear and releasing what no longer works, and being so authentic that you shine for whoever needs to see you or find you.
Can I please get your phone number before we sign off? Can you please give us a phone number if people want to talk to you or seek your services?
Absolutely.
Can you give me a number? Okay,
Yes,
let's go.
513-652-7231. And my email is Tandy at Tandy Pryor, and that's Pryor coaching.com.
I want to thank you for your authentic self. I love you. You know that.
I
And for
love
those
you
of you
too.
viewing in, I hope you have been inspired, but inspired to move, not inspired to sit. Inspired to begin to look at yourselves and your behaviors objectively and recognize that you must be the change. Nobody's going to change you. You have to be the change. And on that note, thank you for being a part of today's The Power of Money with Tandy Pryor, who owns her own consulting company, empowering women in business. And for over 2 decades or more, she's seasoned, she's knowledgeable, and she represents the emerging, empowered female. Thank you all so much for being a part of my world. And as always, I thank you for allowing me the privilege of being in your homes and your offices or even your cell phones, because you can get The Power of Money on the YouTube. Thank you so much, and God bless all of you. Bye-bye.